All right, we're live. Today is July 2nd. This is our fortnightly design and user experience meeting. Before we get started with the agenda, I'd like to go around and have everyone introduce themselves. If you could say what your name is and where you're from, and if you have anything you want to share with the group, 30 seconds or less that's not already on the agenda, you can go ahead and do that now. Greg, let's have you go first.
Yep. Hi, my name is Greg. I'm joining from Greece. I'm usually in Australia. I'm joining the UX meeting because I've been working on some UX issues. Some of them were older pull requests that they needed to be revisited, reworked. Some of them new ones. So I would like to sort of like get consensus and move them forward.
Luke, if you're there, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. I'm Luke McCormick. I'm a web product manager in San Ramon, California, and I'm currently leading up the Ready to Wear theme initiative, which has a foot in both theme and interior development worlds. So, and I generally would like to understand design and theming and front-end presentation better than I do. So that's largely why I'm around.
Great. I am Jen Lampton. I am currently in Oakland, California, and I want to do all the things and seem to not have time to do all the things. All right, mute. Luke, I've muted you because there was some static, but if you want to talk, feel free to unmute yourself. Okay. First on the agenda, we have a section here for the theme initiative update. Maybe I'll, yeah. But we usually talk about the theme initiative in the developer meeting too, because now it's an official initiative. So one thing that I was telling Greg right before the meeting started is that I think it's important if you want to have core developers involved in the conversation about the issue to have that in the weekly meeting. But if you have things that don't necessarily aren't ready for that yet, and you want to have a conversation about that, I think leaving this space in this meeting will be really useful. So we could like hash out something here and then take it to the developer meeting and be like, hey, this is what we decided. Is this cool? Yes, no. That might be a good way to manage the time so you're not saying the same thing in both meetings. But you know, initiatives are new. We are still figuring this out. If you have anything in particular that you want to talk about in this meeting, there's space here for you to do that. Luke is also, I think, driving right now. So why don't we go ahead and skip the theme initiative update for now? Yep. And if he has something he wants to add, we can squeeze him in whenever he's available. Okay, in terms of design user experience, we have a couple of outstanding issues that we would like to get worked on. One of them is if you use the user interface to update a module, a theme, or a layout, or even backdrop core, the user interface is a little weird. I remember seeing an issue about that at some point. I don't have the issue number, but I would love to work on that, especially while we're working on making updates automatic and while we have a lot of people updating from 777. I think getting that process smoothed out would be something that would really highlight to people how we are focused on user experience. Right now, we just inherited what was available for 777.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the issue. So it's issue 2714, merge all the update core module theme layout pages into a single page.
Okay, so that sounds like we've got a bunch of different related issues for update process, and that was one potential solution. But there were a bunch of other things too that were like language on one of the forms was confusing, which button to click was confusing. There were like a bunch of little tiny things too. And I'm not sure we have a meta issue for that. They might just be a whole bunch of separate ones. But issue 2714, if anyone's interested, is a much bigger issue of like, let's not just fix the thing we have, let's like reimagine it in a way that might make more sense. And I think that that's important to move that forward also. So I think we might still need the labels fixed on buttons, but
Yeah, so that was another issue. Yeah, there's I'll try to find it. So
that's
the main
okay.
issue, the main UX issue is that currently those pages list, they don't filter by the type. So if you go to the hello team, so
Hi.
if you go to the if you go to the modules page and you have themes that need to be updated or core, they will be listed there as well. So, and this has been standing there for a while. So until we decide if we're going to merge these pages and redirect and then have a central page where we do that, in the meantime, maybe the low hanging fruit would be to just apply some filtering on these pages to make sure that they show what they actually say that they're going to show, like filter out modules from the theme page. The only caveat there is that core as an update is mentioned in all of them. And if we remove it from there, then people won't have a way to update core. So core will be left in all of them.
Yeah,
It would be a half fix.
I think that's probably better than waiting for the reorg to happen, because I think there's probably going to be a lot of heated discussion around where the page should be, how it should work, whatever, and it'll take us a while to land on something we have consensus for. So I think fixing the filtering is a good first step for that. I also, and my memory might not be right because human memories aren't good at this sort of thing, but I also had a memory of going through the update process and realizing that like there were places where you click on a button where it should say one thing, it says another thing, and then you get to the next page and it has some like description text that's wrong, and then you have to click on a link instead of a button, and there was just kind of, it just felt kind of kludgy all the way through the process of like downloading, installing, updating, whatever. And then maybe like there was a redirect issue, and I remember going through this and being like, this is so frustrating, I'm gonna create all these issues, and then I found a bunch of issues that you'd already created about it. And so that's kind of what I had more in mind, but I feel like I'm not sure how much of the, like we might have fixed some of those already, but yeah, I think there is a bigger problem of just the starting point that we also need to fix. So I'm going to leave this other wonky issue on here until I have a chance to search the issue queue and see if I can find what is in my memory. And if I can't find it, I will remove it and we can focus on the other one. Okay.
Yeah, so I actually found the original issue in the meantime, which is closed, by the way. So it's 1781, and it was basically to merge the update pages of all these themes, modules, and layouts, but it was closed in favor of that issue that I mentioned earlier, 2714. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next up is issue number 3193 about getting promoted modules on the installer. Gregory, you're going to love this. So last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago, Luke and I were talking about this Ready to Wear theme initiative. And one of the things we decided we should do is use the promoted checkbox for these themes. So that way we don't have to worry about getting these themes in core. We don't have the same gateways and hurdles and roadblocks and schedule as core stuff. We could have each theme sort of become ready on its own schedule. And when it's ready, if we use the promoted checkbox, that would give us a way to highlight, like, these are the themes we know are going to look good on your backdrop site. It'll give people a better first impression about what their backdrop site could look like. But that would depend on all of the stuff that's been on your list for forever to get these promoted modules on there too. And so I think it was last week, I went through this main meta issue about to promote Contrib projects, and I created a list of all of the subtasks that we have to do, including a link to a new issue, number 43 in the project module, which I thought we had one before, but I searched the current queue and it wasn't there. So I figured I'd just create a new one, and if we find another one later, we can remove it. But this is to update the feed that project module spits out to include that promoted checkbox. And so with this here, I think it'll, I'm going to start working on, oh, is that a, okay. I'm going to start working on this one to get the feed updated. And once we have the feed updated, then we can return to core and try and feel like how it's going to handle that data. And there might be a little back and forth there about like we get the pull request for the feed ready, and then we do the core thing and we realize the feed thing needs to be updated, etc. But I think like having at least a place in both queues to work on it will be good. And then I added the 2 steps about the adding a class with some kind of color and highlight here in the main issue about promoting Contrib projects. But we might also need some designer feedback on that. We don't have the label.
So which issue is it, the one that you were working? Is it in the backdrop core queue or backdropcms.org?
So
There's
there's another. I don't think I've created that other issue. You're right. We need one in the backdrop org queue also. The main issue I'm working on is in backdrop core queue 3193. And then there is a link from that to an issue in the project contributed module, which is for getting the promoted checkbox supported. You're right, we need another issue, which is to update backdropcms.org with that new version of the project module. But I feel, I mean, I don't know, I feel like it should be possible to do the core pull request before we get backdropcms.org updated, because I want, I don't know, I want to have the ability to revise the pull request against project module if we need. I don't know that it really matters. Like we could just do like 4 or 5 pull requests, be like, oh, here's one, oops, we got it wrong. Here's another one, here's another one. But I wouldn't want to do releases of project module until we got it right. So if we merge the pull requests, we can have a dev version, we can figure it out. But I do want to find some way that we can like take, this has been kind of stuck with the like, there's so many moving parts. I just want to sort of document all of the moving parts we needed to have and at least get issues everywhere for them.
Okay. Thanks for doing that.
Okay, so I thought that was exciting. Some marginal progress. We have a list of things we need to do, although you've pointed out incomplete.
I may not seem like it, but I'm excited as well. I'm at Araxic, so this is as excited as I get, but I am excited. I might not show it, but yeah. One of the long-standing pet peeves.
Right.
And another thing that we mentioned in a previous, I'm not sure if it was the previous or the one before that, the meeting, was the thought that with promoted modules, we decided, or that's the plan at least, to have the promoted style or design be in the project browser. But because by default, when you go to the theme management page, you only have like 3 themes, the Basis, 7, and Batik. We said that maybe we should promote those there as well, as in make things more discoverable. And I think you created an issue for it, didn't you?
I think I did. I think there was an issue somewhere about like the making disabled themes not a thing. And on that, that might have also been where I mentioned like redoing the themes page in particular to maybe include promoted themes on it. I don't think there was a dedicated issue for putting the promoted themes on the themes landing page, but I did mention it somewhere in one of those issues. So
yeah. So I'm not sure if I'm not sure if all these discussions are just sort of like the universe is happening to sort of like make that coincidences for us, or if it's Luke and his mention of the initiative about the ready-to-wear themes. So Olaf mentioned an issue in Zulip earlier where he wanted to sort of like completely disable color support for a subtheme of Basis, and I created an issue for that. And while I was working on it, I discovered, I think I reviewed another issue which is related to that page. And I tried to install multiple Contrib modules via the project browser, like 13 of them at the same time. And then I was trying to enable them to see which one of them just have these have settings. So I found the process of doing that very tedious. So you had a list of 13 modules, and then you would scroll down, enable it, the page would refresh, it take you to the top of the page, and you would scroll down, enable another one, refresh. So my point is that
for modules or for themes?
For themes,
Yeah.
Because for modules we have the checkboxes and we just do the thing, the enabling. So keep that in mind.
I'm not sure that is an 80% use case though. I'm
It's-
pretty sure that probably 95% of the time there's only ever one enabled theme on a site.
Yeah.
But
So
go ahead.
with in conjunction with what we're trying to do to make things more discoverable and allow people when they set up a backdrop vanilla installation to try a lot of them. So many people might actually, because you cannot possibly, unless you just rely on the screenshots, you cannot get a feeling of what the themes are from the project browser. So I was sort of like pretending to be this person that is new to Drupal or Backdrop, and I would just want to get all the themes into a state where it would be possible for me to start switching between them, right?
Yeah. So there's a bigger there's a bigger problem here that you're trying to solve in a very specific way. Your solution is I'm going to put all the themes on this site and try them on. But I think this is something Luke and I have been talking about too, is like the bigger problem is like, how do you see what it looks like? And there are a lot of different ways to answer that question that maybe don't involve installing them all on one site. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you there, but I know that I remember the discussion that we had that we needed to sort of like, it involves infrastructure, like setting up a site where people can do that. But in my head, it's going to take some time because it's going to involve a lot of people getting another domain perhaps or whatever and doing that. Whereas in the meantime, we have the demo sandboxes, and that's the direct way of getting people to try things. So if I was giving a talk about Backdrop and I said, oh, you can test things, we have the project browser or whatever, people would say, all right, where can I see what the things look like? My immediate reaction would be, oh, we have the free demo, so you go there and spin one, and then they're going to say, great, that's great. How do I preview the themes now? And the pathway from there.
You could just, but there's like a bigger question here of like, rather than like committing something to core that no one is ever going to use in reality, it's only like a preview tool. Why don't we like just use the demo sandbox, put a button on the theme page, it's like demo this theme, and like fire up a sandbox to let you see it
with a theme,
with already the theme on it and enabled.
Unless, yeah, that's another way to solve things. Unless Nate and anyone else has the problem of spinning multiple sandboxes. Like if a person wants to, imagine that you go and have a talk and then you persuade 10 people in a conference to start doing that, and each person files a separate sandbox to test a theme.
Yeah. So the sandboxes aren't very big, like most of the time. So that shouldn't be a problem unless we have an issue where our like core sandbox base gets deleted. That's when they get really big, because every sandbox is only a diff of like Backdrop core plus whatever is different in that sandbox. However, I do think it's worth considering. I think there might also be, so this is like more big picture theory, but like, you know how you go to you can go to a website and to buy something online, and you'll find like 4 products you like, and you hit like compare, and then you go to a page where it shows like all 4 of them. We could do something similar where like every time you hit compare, it like saves the name of the theme, and then when you hit show me my demo site, it'll like fire up 4 of them on there. That might also be an option. I feel like maybe what would be good.
So that's what I was trying to simulate by adding all the things that I could find in the installer queue and then installing all of them.
Yeah.
Which would get me to a spot where I would test everything. I was trying to think of it of say a small shop digital agency where they go to the customer and the customer says, ideally, I know we're not in that state where we would showcase Contrib themes as being ready to use, but that's where we're trying to get, right? So if I was to present a customer with these options, I would start a sandbox, and then I would like to have them sort of like preview those. And I expect the customer to say, I would like to see some dummy content, just to get an idea of because if they preview it with content that doesn't make sense to them, it might not be enough for them to sort of like make a decision. So there you have you solve that problem, because if you create a demo sandbox which is live for 24 hours, you can only once create demo dummy content there, and then start previewing the themes. Whereas with what you proposed, having different sandboxes, they would have to recreate the demo content. Parenthesis there. If we do something like Umami, then that wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. So there's a lot of issues here that I think maybe we should write down somewhere. And I don't know if Luke has started this already, but it might be good to touch base with him too, where like, we need some way to do demo content. There's a Contrib module that does it. I don't think it does it very well. Not like Umami does. We could have like some kind of profile like Drupal, but we would need to make one. We could use the sandbox site and have our starting sandbox just have a bunch of content in it. And so every time you create a sandbox, it would be full rather than empty. We could fix the installer for themes. I think removing the ability to have them enabled would be a good first step so that you don't have to click that button if it's not going to do anything anyway. And then putting something like theme switcher on there might also be good too. I don't know, theme switcher, theme key, whatever, something like that that'll allow you to switch it. But I don't think that any of those things necessarily need to be changes to core. Like, I mean, some of them do, but not, I'm not sure, let me say this differently. I'm not sure this problem needs to be solved by making changes to core. I think there might be other changes to core that are part of it, but I think like kind of stepping back and being like, okay, like we want to get this done as fast as possible. What are the tools we already have available in order to make this happen? And if a change to core is easier to do than setting up sandboxes with sample content and a theme switcher, maybe that might be, if we can get core committers to sign off of it, that might be the right answer. But I don't want to start there. I think that like we have other options. So
do we have theme key ported?
I don't think so. I think we looked at it. I think the maintainer of theme key was in the Backdrop core issue queue, arguing about some tool that we changed in Backdrop core that Contrib module needed. And we were trying to talk through how you would solve that problem in Backdrop. And I think that was because he was working on a port of theme key that didn't get done. So that conversation might need to be revisited. I don't remember where it ended. Maybe it was finalized, but I did check for theme key recently and theme switcher, and we don't have either of them.
We don't. Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
So you touched on one of the issues that I meant to mention, and that's 4559, which is titled "Either remove the notion of disabled themes or properly handle them." Am I to assume from what you said that you would prefer that we just remove the notion of disabled themes so that they're all the time available? Because it practically they don't work like modules or layouts for that matter.
Yeah. I think that I'm not really sure what the enabled status gives us in Backdrop. Like I'm not sure what it gave us. It puts us in a different place on the admin form.
Yeah. So it's the same thing with layout templates. Basically, what we did is if you disable one of them, what happens is they're not being offered as an option when you create layouts, because they don't work like modules. They don't have install functions that run and do something.
Yeah.
So.
And themes and so this, I think, so layouts don't usually have settings. Like we have a configurable layout that is entirely settings, and then we have a normal layout, which is 0 settings. But themes are this weird middle ground where like they do have settings. And so you want an install and an uninstall to be able to set those values. But I'm not sure that has anything to do with status, because like,
there's another issue which says that the settings for themes should be saved in settings files, and when they're removed and installed, these settings should be removed as well.
Yeah.
So removing the notion of disabled themes would mess with that.
Yeah. But and so right now, it's not like we should look at what happens to theme settings right now too, and see if maybe there's a better way to have that. Because like if no theme has an enabled or disabled status, we could add something to the theme settings page. So like maybe every theme has a theme settings page. It would be like install default settings button. And then when you're done with it, like remove default settings button. And maybe that's enough. Like if it's not automatic, so with modules, you have to go to the uninstaller and run the uninstaller. And we don't have an uninstaller for themes. So there isn't currently a tool to do that. It would have to happen like automatically on uninstall. And I really hate that about Drupal 8. I feel like that's the kind of thing that people are going to get trapped in. Like, oh, I'm just going to turn this off for a minute and then accidentally lose all their settings. Exactly. I don't want to have that same like automatic, we're going to delete your data without you knowing it kind of thing. I would rather it be like a manual process where we can give you a button to clean up your data if you want, or what's the harm of leaving it there? Right? That's what we do now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what what's the difference between modules and themes, I guess. Or not the difference, that's what happens with modules. We leave the settings there in case people want to re-enable them and keep the settings so they don't have to reconfigure things.
Yeah.
If that's a valid case for themes or not, I don't know.
I mean, I think if you spend a lot of time setting up the color on a theme, and then you turn it off and you turn it back on and that's gone.
Yeah, it's the same situation. Yeah. So maybe it won't be that easy to sort of like get rid of the disabled status after all.
I mean, I think, but I don't think the disabled status does anything with that now.
Yeah.
So
I have worked on that issue on my local, actually, and we have a specific, like a 3-liner case where if someone selects a disabled theme to be the administrative theme, we also enable it without letting them know anything about it. Like there's no message that says, oh, we have enabled it now. We just enable it and move it to the enabled thing. So we do it sort of like magically.
Yeah.
There's no prompt to say the same thing that does with modules, that if you try to enable a module that has a dependency or whatever, it says, oh, we're going to enable these modules now. So I thought I filed another issue for that, to either introduce a prompt, a confirmation page that says this theme is disabled, we'll enable it for you. The person says okay, and then we do that without doing it, magically behind the scenes, or completely remove disabled themes from the list that allows you to select admin themes, which is what D8 does. Well, D8 was forced to do that because they don't have a notion of disabled themes or modules. They're either enabled or disabled or uninstalled. Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I don't know. All of my Drupal 7 and backdrop sites right now have their admin themes disabled.
Yeah, but you understand that that's a weirdness for someone that comes outside Drupal, or
is it? Because I don't want a front end theme. I don't want a back end theme enabled on my site. Like I would never want that to appear in any options where you could ever choose a theme.
Yeah,
so I think I might also have a mental model that's different. Like
yes.
I feel like coming from WordPress, there's no idea of admin theme, not admin theme. But coming from Drupal, it's always like, oh, if you have themes enabled, the idea is that anyone can choose from these available themes. And you would never want a front end someone to choose a backend theme for their front end of their site. So I'm always like, no, disable all the backend themes. But I feel like, I don't know, it's very, then like there's also this weird use case of like some sites that have editors who are regular users, like a blog site where you can come and create an account and create blogs. Like you might use the front end theme on the back. So we need,
yeah.
I feel like,
so I know. So all these things, when I come to this page, all these things just I find them as what WTFs for newcomers, and I would like us to sort of like be more intuitive, have the interaction with the user behave as someone would expect and not do magic things. And the other thing is that
disabled is the way to go. I feel like then you won't need to explain to them what it means or what it does, and you won't need people to have to choose whether they want them enabled or not. Just be like, here's 8 themes. They're all on your site. Choose one for your administration theme. Set one as default. You're good to go.
And the uninstallation thing would be a separate button, as you said, to just say clear, or remove settings.
Yeah.
I think this deserves another issue,
I think so too.
or maybe or change the what you call it, the scope of the existing issue to sort of like reflect that.
Yeah. What was the current issue number? I think I just wrote it down.
So 4459,
4459.
which says it's not a decision. It says either remove the notion of disabled themes or properly handle them. So that the title can eventually change to remove the disabled notion of themes, or whatever the notion of being disabled.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to get more feedback too. My opinion has been clearly stated, I think, but I don't know. I feel like
Well,
we'll need to do two things. Like number one, like if we are actually going to remove the notion of disabled themes, we'll need to write the pull request and see which files it touches. And if it turns out that the only thing that changes is the admin UI, that's a really easy thing to change. But if there is something, if there are some other things in there that use that status, we'll need to weigh those into the decision to remove this. And I don't know what they are, just thinking about it off the top of my head, but I'm sure we'll find it when we try and make that change. So I think maybe should not be a final decision yet, but I will add my comment on that. I read that issue originally and had this thought, but I don't think I added a comment, so I'll add one there.
Yeah, my thoughts on what you just said is that in your head, so we have two kinds of people, I guess, that have separate thoughts. On one side is what you just said, that you distinctly have the notion of admin only things and front-end things, and you just feel that it's just wrong to even think that an admin thing can be used as a front-end, and I agree with that. But who would do that? Like from a perspective of a site builder, like you have the site admin or the site builder, he's the one, or they are the ones that they would come to this managed page and decide what to use. And what does make an admin theme only? Like, do we stop it? Technically, we don't. Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, and we don't even have right now a concept of an admin theme. Like an admin theme is not any different in its anatomy than a regular theme. It's just something you might choose as an admin theme.
Yes, exactly. Or their purpose might be defined like in the information page of the theme, or the maintainers might have stated that this is the purpose, like the goal of that thing. But other than that, we don't have anything technically stopping them. No. So my point was, while you were saying that, you were like, what if someone comes and selects that as I don't want them, so I disable it. You disable it in order to prevent who from selecting it? Yourself?
So for example, on the blog website, where you can choose how you want to view your site, which is this is a 777 site. I don't think we have this option in Backdrop anymore. But you like on the user page, you'd be like, what theme do you want? Like, oh, spring, summer, fall, right? I don't want them to have spring, summer, fall backend theme, because I know spring, summer, fall are going to look good. I've tested it. It's a front end theme. It works on the front end, but I maybe haven't tested it minimal as being
but so
I
this
want
situation
minimal on the back end, but I don't want them like there's like a I don't know.
So what you described now is very similar to the situation that we have with layout templates, where you say, I've installed all these, but I don't want them to show up when I'm selecting a layout. So maybe that could be solved with a settings page that says, make only these things available to people that have the switcher on their user page. So admins can still see the full list of themes and still have the enabled, disabled thing, and what controls whether they're going to be shown or not as options to users would be a separate setting.
But that live in the module that provides that feature though, right?
Yes. So what module is it? You said that this is a D7 site. What was it?
In Drupal 7, it was part of core. Was it Drupal 7? I think it was, maybe it was Drupal 6. I don't remember. At one point it was part of core, where you could go to your user page and it was like, what theme do you want?
Okay.
And so that
I don't remember that.
It was a while ago. I don't remember either.
Yes. Okay.
But that's like that's where my mindset comes from, was that world, because I've been in Drupal for so long. That's how I experience enabled themes. But that is very different.
We don't have that problem in Backdrop though. You're bringing problems from like
right, but we've inherited this idea of enabled themes though, and that was because of that feature at one point being in core. And so now I'm wondering like what what does it still give us? Like what value does it give now that we don't
Exactly.
provide that feature?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. We need more discussion, more information, but we definitely need to improve that page.
Yeah.
I liked your comparison between layouts though. And as soon as you said that, I envisioned a similar interface where we have thumbnails for all of the themes and like little checkboxes that are like show on X thing. And I wanted like immediately, I'm like, I want to build it. But then I was like, wait, where does it go? And because we don't have anything that provides that feature, that's why I was like, oh, but anyway.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be more complicated because we have put that in the layouts. We have put it into a settings tab, and the settings tab in the themes does a different thing. It sets the settings for the global settings for all themes, I think.
And we
So
also
that
have,
will be,
yeah.
let me
I
check
don't know.
real quick, just to fact check what I just said. But I do think, yeah, so if you go to appearance, oh, we have removed the global settings, it seems.
It's
So we
only
have
there if a theme has color support or provides its own settings. Oh wait,
yeah.
global theme settings, is that what you were looking for? Or the,
Yeah, so in the appearance page, you have the manage themes tab, you have the install new themes tab, and then you would have a settings tab, or at least in D7, you would have a separate settings tab. I'm not sure if we do, but bear with me, I had a sandbox open. Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, we don't have that notion, at least in Backdrop. So we have list themes, install new themes, update themes, and we are missing the secondary tab where it was saying settings.
yeah, that's because all of the theme settings in Drupal 7 were like, do you want a logo or site name or site? It was all the stuff that's our block settings now.
Yep. All right. So we don't have that problem,
No.
I guess. Okay, cool.
Okay, interesting.
So we could have a settings tab there, which we select which ones are enabled or not for that feature, if any module sort of like implements that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So many good
Should we?
ideas. All right.
That ended up to be a discussion solely about things, but
That was fun.
Yes, it was.
We're running out of time, so I'm just gonna say, if anyone is interested in other user experience issues, we have a tag on GitHub. All issues start with UX in square brackets, and there are a bunch of them that are good first issues if you want to find a good place to contribute. There are a bunch of them that require designer feedback, and if that's true, there's a little label on it that says design. And a lot of those can get in at any point. They can go into any bug fix release. They can go into minor releases. So they're good things to get in quickly if you want to work on them. Some of them are really hard, like the one we're discussing now, or like moving the update section. But they are fun discussions to have either way. We also have a handful of issues that need design feedback or will affect the design of the product using that design label. If you're interested in specifically improving the design of Backdrop, I would definitely recommend checking that out. We have one issue that affects design for core right now that we've been working on for a long time. It's issue number 4095. It solves an issue with a unwanted gap in the basis theme underneath the hero block, but it is currently stuck because we have not yet figured out a safe way to handle CSS changes for core. And I think that is a much bigger, harder problem that we're going to need to maybe do some like proof of concepts of and get core committer sign off on. But we would, yeah, if anyone has thoughts on that, we would welcome more feedback there.
Is that related to the change that we reverted, something that had to do with captions or how they are?
That it might offer a solution to that, where we fixed a problem with image alignment, like floating images and clearing text after them, and it ended up having unwanted repercussions that we hadn't tested for specifically. And if we had included incremental CSS changes in core in a way that were safer, the sites that had already wrote CSS to get around the first problem would not have been affected by the new introduced CSS because it would have been sort of out of the way. But yeah, we don't have that solution in place yet. So yeah, I mean, I think it's theoretically possible. It's going to be messy. So that's why I want core committers to look at it and see if the theoretically possible messy solution is acceptable or not. And then, yeah, maybe. So right now, I think the current thought is like, don't introduce any CSS changes that affect the front end because it could be breaking. But that really limits our ability to make improvements.
To fix things, yeah.
With this longer release cycle, trying to figure out a way to get the improvements in would be good. Okay. Tim, you're here. You didn't get a chance to introduce yourself. Would you like to say who you are and where you're from?
Hi,
Hi.
I haven't been around for a while. Sorry. Just life got in the way.
Life happens.
But I am coming to you today from Deerwood, Minnesota again, where I'm now officially living for at least the summer. Anyways, yeah. So I'm just easing back in today. I didn't come with anything in particular, but I haven't been around for a while and life seems to be calming down a bit. So.
Well, it's good to see you and it's beautiful there. So.
And it feels good to be back. It's good to see you guys. I missed you.
Missed you too. All right, it is the end of our allotted time. So I'm going to recommend that we wrap up this meeting and switch over to developer meeting unless anyone has anything you want to throw in our open Q&A section.
Well, I said that I was going to leave 5 of the issues of the UX issues. We just spent most of the time in one of them. Just really quickly, I would like input on 4461, which is with regards to moving the setting for selecting the option whether the admin theme should be the same as the default theme out of that select button, because we have a help text that explains what that special option does, and it's not even being denoted as a special option. So yeah, I have a couple of ideas. So that's one that I would like, and it's all related to the admin page where you manage themes. And the drive for all that was your pull request for the admin thing being used in the login page, which introduces another checkbox there, which would be dependent on this option. I know that we don't have time to discuss those now, but
wait, how is that dependent on this option? So this
because if you select the default theme, then the checkboxes should go away because they don't make sense.
There's only ever
if you
one,
select,
so you don't need it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yep. Yeah. This is a good issue. Do you have a preference? Oh, ideally. So your preference is another checkbox that hides everything that comes after it.
Yes, and we don't introduce anything like we're not bloating the UI because we are removing the help text which explains this special option, and we're replacing it with a checkbox. So if you tick that checkbox, everything just goes away, and it's just the field set, the checkbox, and just the save button, which makes it very simple.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
And I have a pull request for that.
Nice.
I'll file a pull request. I'll file a pull request for the other one, which is also one liner, which is basically changing the default thing to not have a capital letter and have dashes before and after. So it makes it seem like the any option in drop buttons. So that's if the core maintainers do not agree with the bigger changes that the other thing brings, maybe we can just at least do that to denote that it's a special option. It's not a theme.
Okay. I like this one though.
Yeah, I know. I like it as well.
All right.
Which also solves a DX problem because that saves up value in the config JSON file as 0, which needs to be treated specially because sometimes it gets saved as a number and sometimes it gets saved as a string, and then a whole lot of mess. So it cleans up the DX as well.
Anything else you want to bring our attention to in this meeting?
it was basically all those issues that revolve around the appearance page
Okay.
and getting things, making things more discoverable, I guess, and making the experience of selecting and testing things in a sandbox less wonky, as you say. Yeah.
All right. Well, then why don't we go ahead and wrap this? And if you guys are around in 2 minutes, I will start up the next meeting.